Welcome back into Pattrn. Every year around this time, a giant glob of sargassum seaweed collects in the ocean, slowly floating towards Florida and the Gulf of Mexico. It causes a massive stinky problem for beaches in Florida.
Right, because you got to clean it up, right? Last summer, the Miami-Dade Innovation Authority worked to solve this problem with their first ever public challenge for solutions. Leanne Buchanan is the president and CEO of the authority, joining us to present the winners. Leanne, thank you so much for being with us. And we first want to know how the challenge worked, what were the guidelines, and who exactly was eligible to participate?
Well, Jordan and Stephanie, it's great to be back on. And we had a public innovation challenge that really was an open call to technology companies from around the world. We received applications from companies representing 12 different countries, and we finally narrowed it down to 4 companies that we're excited to announce exclusively here on the Weather Channel as our winners. They will receive, they're eligible to receive up to $100,000 equity investment in their company, as well as through our partnership with Miami-Dade County, as well as the Nature Conservancy, an opportunity to pilot their solutions in this upcoming 2024 sargassum season. And as you've already said, it looks like it's going to be a massive one.
Okay, this is all very exciting. So we want to know who the 4 winners are and what helped them stand out.
That is the big question. Well, the 4 companies are Allgas Organics, which is a company based in Florida, but originally started in St. Lucia. Carbon Wave, a company based in Boston, Massachusetts. Chemergy, a Miami-based company, and XMet, a UK company. So really quickly, Allgas is got a great solution, and it converts sargassum into a biological fertilizer for crop farmers, and Sweet. It can also be used as animal feed.
And then, keep going. What are the other companies going to be doing?
And then Carbon Wave is able to upcycle sargassum seaweed into an agriculture enhancer. It also has created a really interesting emulsifier that's used in cosmetics, and they're also working on a leather alternative. Chemergy, our 3rd winner, is a company that transforms organic and plastic wastes into green hydrogen, which is able to provide a clean alternative to fossil fuels. And finally, our 4th company that was selected as a winner is all the way from the United Kingdom. XMet really focuses on recycling sargassum into compost and biofuels and polymers with their patented technology. So these 4 companies really stood out above the fray because they were able to really focus on zero waste,
right?
An interesting solution, and they are diverse in terms of the ways to repurpose sargassum seaweed beneficially.
So creative.
So creative.
So exciting.
And so different.
Yeah. Leanne Buchanan from Miami-Dade Innovation Authority, thank you so much for joining us today. And you can learn more about the winners by visiting the MDIA website.
It's going to be great. She said makeup was one of them, right?
Yeah.
As a byproduct, which is going to be so interesting. Well, welcome back to Pattrn, everybody. This right here is your home for the latest news in climate change and sustainability. I'm Jordan Steele.
And I'm Steph Abrams. Let's get into today's hot topics.
Okay, we're going to talk offshore wind farms. We know this will help the U.S. reduce its dependence on fossil fuels. But there's a downside here. Constructing those wind farms can be a little noisy for the marine life.
Apparently
and everything's
so.
super sensitive for marine life, right? They can
I
feel
didn't
vibrations.
know that. I think the vibration's more than like the loud sound, right?
So when you're, these developers constructing these things, they've got to come up with an interesting way to cut back on all that noise. So what they're doing is they're creating a bubble curtain to blunt all the sound. It's a wall of bubbles that can cut about 80 to 90% of the sound created by construction. That's a lot of sound. The bubbles are generated with hoses laid on the ocean floor, fueled by air compressors on a ship above. Then everything can be easily removed once construction of the turbine is complete. Can I have one of these in my house?
Exactly, to go to sleep. That's exactly what I was thinking. But I was also thinking, I like sea creatures. have very sensitive hearing.
Okay.
So like my husband will hear absolutely nothing, and I will hear 8 million sounds. Did you hear that? Nothing.
Right.
I don't know if it's a guy-girl thing or
maybe
if I have
something
sensitive
you're
ears.
not actually hearing, but it's more of like you're sensing.
Well,
your body's more open to sensing.
That's the other question, because sometimes I'm like, am I hearing things
Right.
or
is it
not?
in here? Or are you...
Right. Can
I mean, are we going that route?
That's probably most likely, Jordan, frankly.
What I was thinking is these bubbles. Like, what do they look like, right? Like,
I envision like a bubble wall. Like
a bubble wall. But what I think is funny is like, have you seen those videos on social media where it's like someone puts up a mirror in the wild and then like a bear will come walking and sees the mirror and then you get their reactions?
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if you could have these like dolphins swimming by and like, you know, seeing their reflection or something.
No, that would be really, really good. All right. Hot topic number 2, 3D printing could be the future of bringing nature back to cities. Companies like Urban Reef are using natural materials, including seashells and clay, to print walls and other structures that will help moss and local plants grow. The reefs are cool to look at, and they help increase the green space in cities to help them cool down. They're beautiful too, by the way. They've already installed a few of these in cities around the Netherlands.
Looks like when I leave the toothpaste out and my son gets a hold of it and just squeezes it out everywhere.
Yeah.
But you know what I was thinking? You know, when you said green space and creating these green spaces, I've noticed when I've been traveling more and more at some of these airports, they'll have
green walls.
the green walls.
I love those. I love them at businesses. I love them when I go into a restaurant.
So cool.
And they were really big a few years ago. And so I was watching someone on one of the social medias. They essentially are just like little cups back there of water.
Little pods.
Little pods,
okay.
yeah, that are kind of all like hanging on shelves. And you know, someone has to go in there and take care of them and everything.
Water them.
But they're so beautiful. And sometimes you get the trickling water sound behind it, you know?
And when it's all together, it's just, you have this huge growth of plant life on the wall, and it just looks so much better than like drywall or something like that.
Or a picture hanging there.
I
know, I'm with you too. It makes you kind of feel like you're outside.
All right, well, parts of Zambia are getting access to refrigeration. Now, sometimes it's without even being connected to the electric grid.
That's
You've
cool.
got solar-powered fridges. They're giving the ability to safely store perishable foods. The clinics here are trying to keep medicines cold themselves, right? And one company called Amped Innovation created a fridge with the help from a grant program. Makes the fridge about half the cost of some other solar fridges. It also has more efficient batteries that can help keep things cool even when there isn't enough sunlight to power it.
This is phenomenal. You don't think sometimes about, you know, I'm not someone who has to deal with medicine that's refrigerated, so it's not top of mind for me, but it makes me so happy. I mean, also just to have a cold beverage when it's super hot out, but that medicine to be refrigerated, I didn't think about that. And I'm sure there's other things that I'm not necessarily thinking of that need to be refrigerated.
Have you ever stayed at like an completely off-grid location?
No, I haven't.
Where it's like no electricity, right? They've got their own
I've gone
bathroom
camping,
situation. Well, in this situation, you've got these refrigerators that are literally run by solar panels.
Yeah.
And you would think, okay, well, the solar brings in, but it's sometimes we don't think about how much energy refrigeration actually pulls from your electric bill. If you were to look at, I mean, a lot of it goes to refrigeration. If you ever have power outages, sometimes you have that spare generator, it won't even power the fridge. It'll power your HVAC unit, light bulbs, but that fridge takes a lot. So the fact that you've got this, that's solar powered, for half the price is awesome.